So the question is, why are we celebrating this feast of the birth of John the Baptist today? Well, there are three reasons. First is the historical reason, because Luke's gospel says that John was conceived 6 months before Jesus, and this is the 24th of June, and we know that Jesus was born on the 25th of December, and that's 6 months, right? So if you're into history, that's fine, except we don't know when Jesus was born, and so it's all very contrived. The second reason is meteorological. This feast was chosen by Christians in Northern Europe as the birthday of John the Baptist because from now on the days are getting shorter, and he must increase and I must decrease. Works perfectly. And then when Christ is born, in the darkest part of the year, the days begin to get lighter. That's great. But most Christians live in the southern hemisphere, where it's exactly the opposite. The nights are getting darker and darker down there. So meteorological reason doesn't carry much weight. I think the liturgical reason is the best reason. We are in that time of year that we call, unfortunately, ordinary time, when we are not remembering and praying over the events in the life of Christ, but the teachings of Jesus. From Pentecost till Advent again, we will go over the parables and the teaching and the example of his life. And I think that's the reason why this is an important feast for us to remember. Because just as John was the chosen person to announce the coming of Jesus before he came, we are the chosen people to announce Jesus to the world after the events of his coming and his work of redemption. It's interesting, the reading from Isaiah was chosen to point out that, here was a great prophet, and John is a prophet just like Isaiah, but at the end of the reading, the whole work of talking about God, speaking for God, passes from the prophet to the whole people of Israel. I will give you as a light to the nation. He's talking to Israel now, the people, not to the prophet Isaiah. And that my salvation may reach to the ends of the earth. And in our case, John was the one who spread the word by himself. But now, according to Paul, this message has been sent to all of us for the salvation of the world. In other words, we take over the role of the Baptist in our own time, in our own place, and in our own era. And how do we do that? Thank God, not by preaching. Only a few are called to do that, but by living. And that's the crux. That's where the Christian people always come up against a problem. The way we live in relationship to other people. Are we living the life of the kingdom? Remember, the church was never called the church from the beginning. We weren't called Christians from the beginning. We were called the people of the way. W, capital W. The way Jesus taught is the way the disciples lived. And that's where it's hard for us, because we live in cultures, down through the ages, we have lived in cultures which were not Christ-like in many aspects. And we are called to live our life as Christ would live it in our time. And every time the church has succumbed to the cultural values of its time, the church, the people of God, us, have gotten into trouble and have not proclaimed Jesus as well as we could. And you know your history. From the time that we became legal, we started to take on the trappings of the world, and we got into trouble. We're in trouble today because we take on, at least in our governance, the methodologies of the world. The way we handle problems in the church has brought us more and more problems. We have to go back and live the way. We have to be transparent, as they say. Transparency means light comes through. A dirty window keeps out the sunlight. A crystal clear window lets it all in, And we are called to be transparent members of the way in our time, not so that we will be noticed, but so that Christ will be seen.